Warning, this video contains spoilers for The Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2. This will serve as your first and only warning. Since The Last of Us Part 2 launched, many gamers, including myself, have argued many reasons why the plot doesn't make much sense, with leaps of logic, characters acting outside their established personalities, and the strange position of each of these scenes. However, two major topics that are constantly being debated on both sides of the table are Abby and Joel. Predominantly speaking, many players hate Abby and love Joel, explaining how his actions go against his established persona. But there's also a vocal minority who supports Abby's actions, arguing that Joel's death was warranted. But why? Why is Joel seen as a positive character as opposed to Abby? So let's analyze this and answer, why is Joel seen as a good person and Abby not? And if you're here, please consider leaving a like and a comment. I understand this is a huge topic and this video will likely get backlash for simply existing, but I hope that you'll watch the entire video before coming to a conclusion. First off, let's define what a good person is. A good person has many attributes, and for the most part, many see themselves as the good or heroic person. In the words of Axel from Kingdom Hearts,
everybody thinks they're right.
Joel never sees himself as a good person. In fact, he labels himself a survivor. He and Tommy following Outbreak Day were confirmed to have become hunters, and Joel doesn't dismiss the idea that he has killed a lot of innocent people. In the world of The Last of Us, we have to accept those unwilling to kill or perform brutal actions end up dying in the end. Even Ish's community from Part 1, who was shown to be a genuinely good person, had a lot of precautions for not only the infected but humans as well. In the end, it ended badly for them, but in this world, you're going to have to kill or defend yourself to get what you need or try and save your own life. It's just the way things work in this world. It's horrible, but it is the reality of the situation. We also see this with the Fireflies. The people whose entire purpose was to restart humanity were responsible for a lot of horrible things. They killed civilians and were responsible for a lot of terrorist attacks that also killed innocent people. This is not to justify Joel or Abby's brutal actions, but to understand, in this world, you're going to have to get blood or at least dirt on your hands if you want to survive. Now let's talk about Joel. He's a former hunter, smuggler, and enforcer by trade. Joel and Tess, a former romantic partner and the boss of Joel, who he cared deeply about, accepted a deal with a Firefly leader, Marlene, to transport Ellie to a certain location. During this transport, Tess gets bitten and in her final moments begs Joel to fulfill one final wish to take Ellie to Tommy and find the Fireflies. Joel, unwilling to leave, even considers dying to help Tess, leaves to fulfill this final request, not out of responsibility, but to honor Tess, showing that despite Joel had given up on everything following Sarah's death, there was still a small part of him that did feel love and compassion for Tess, and he did this entire journey just for Tess. Now let's analyze Abby's desire for revenge. Joel killed her father. That is the main reason she kills Joel. It had nothing to do with the Fireflies. Abby makes that painfully clear when confronting Owen about Daniel's death. Abby's entire journey for revenge is for her, no one else. Even Nora believed it was for Joel robbing humanity of its last chance for a cure. Don't believe me? Here's what Nora said to Ellie right before she died.
Think about what he did. How many people are dead because of him?
Now, Abby could have told Nora that this was entirely because Joel killed her father. Nora is obviously a close friend to Abby and refuses to give her up even when she's on the brink of death, and only gives her up after Ellie brutally interrogates her. But how Nora words this, it seems that she did it because of what Joel took away from humanity and less about what he took away from Abby. The most defining moment for Joel comes at the end, where he slaughters the Fireflies to save Ellie. And I know a lot of people will use MatPath's theory to argue that killing Ellie would have been pointless, but according to this universe, it would have yielded a cure. And now that could change in the future, but for now we're going to roll with that. Joel's desire to sacrifice humanity for his daughter was an emotional and honestly polarizing decision. Yes, Joel may have sacrificed humanity's last chance at a cure, but it was for his daughter. Abby says condescendingly that if it was her, she would have wanted her father to do the surgery, like she can understand what it's like to sacrifice their child. In fact, she showcases that she didn't even mean what she said, showing a lack of empathy well into adulthood as Ellie begs her to stop, a literal daughter crying out for her father. She simply lacks any sort of empathy and does things just for her benefit, mostly to ease of her own guilt, and it becomes increasingly obvious the more you control her. After leaving Tommy and Ellie alive and returning to Abby's perspective, we see she feels nothing for what she did. I understand, Joel killed her father, but she stupidly believes that this is the end of things. That despite tracking Joel down for 4 years to get her revenge, that she will not expect his family to do the same. Almost like she can't fathom someone else doing what she did to her. Which brings me to my next point, Abby's hypocrisy. Abby goes on a day-long journey to find Owen to get answers involving Daniel's death, and Owen saving a Seraphite, the cult that Abby's organization have been fighting, the Washington Liberation Front. When speaking to Owen, he actually offers a good reason behind his actions, that Daniel's death was an accident. They struggled after Owen refused to kill a Seraphite who was just done with the fighting. After seeing himself in the Seraphite, Daniel grabbed his gun and it went off, and unfortunately he died. Owen actually wants to do something meaningful with his life and searches for a rumored Firefly base planning to leave Seattle. Abby venomously states in her own way that Owen is stuck in the past with the Fireflies. Owen calls out how Abby spent 4 years tracking down Joel as they held down his daughter and murdered him. Yeah, Abby is the one who's stuck in the past, not Owen.
If the Fireflies are in Santa Barbara, I go the opposite fucking direction. What?
Nothing.
Sorry I grew up. You should try it.
Oh yeah? How do I do that, Happy? Should I go find the people that killed my family? Cut into them? I could torture them until they're crying, you know?
But let's move on to Abby's so-called friends, or as Abby treats them, as assets. Abby has shown extensively that she'll do anything to satisfy her own personal goals and doesn't care who gets hurt. This is very clear during the sniper fight with Tommy. After Manny is killed and Abby almost dies from Tommy as well, being saved by Yara, who somehow crossed infected and large amounts of territory after major surgery, doesn't warn her friends. Instead, she travels to the Seraphite island to save Lev, who went to the island to talk to their mother. Now, according to the time descriptions that are prominently displayed on the lower left-hand side of the screen at the beginning of each chapter, Abby met Lev and Yara for about a day. She's known Owen since the Fireflies, just saw Manny get killed, and judging from the fact he told her these trespassers have been targeting them, decided not to warn her lifelong friends about the threat, instead going in the opposite direction. This makes the entire situation that more sour when you remember that Abby convinced Isaac to let them all go on this journey to kill Joel because of, and quotation marks, justice. Well, Abby's justice only applies to things she cares about, which doesn't include her friends, all for people she only knew for about 1 day, and she decided to help them just to feel less guilty. Again, her words, not mine. Here they are.
Can I ask you a question?
Shoot.
Why did you come back for us?
Guilt.
Of what? You don't owe us anything.
I just needed to lighten the load a bit.
Joel, for all his faults, did a lot of things he did for survival and those he cared about. Even though Joel lost faith in everything but survival, he took Ellie across the country for a test. He saved Ellie because he couldn't endure losing his daughter. Why did Abby kill Joel? Out of spiteful revenge. Why did she decide to go after Lev instead of helping her lifelong friends? Because she felt guilty. This person is attempting to make herself feel better because she knows she's a terrible person. Let's add more to the pile. Remember how Ellie became increasingly more unstable and broken as she killed Joel's killers? Compare this to Abby's reactions when beating Dina and finding out she was pregnant. With a sick, gleeful sense of joy, she begins to try and kill her. Yes, Ellie killed Mel, but remember, she could have warned them about Tommy and Joel's people. She chose not to, and unlike Ellie, who expressed profound guilt for killing Mel, Abby shows no sympathy or regret when she walks away. Instead, she looks almost victorious in her gait, like she won somehow, despite all her friends being dead because of her. This is supported when Ellie finds Owen's boat and Abby's note. She makes no mention of Owen and shows completely she is happy with her life with Lev. Eventually, Abby gets away scot-free. She leaves with Lev without any empathy or remorse for the death of her friends. Joel did a lot of terrible things, but he wasn't a villain. He killed without mercy and showed little remorse for what he did, especially in the end where he tells Ellie if given a chance to return to the Firefly Hospital, he would do it all over again without a second thought. Everything he did was with a purpose and reason, with a strong emotional drive that many connected to. Not everyone agreed with Joel, saving Ellie, but they understand why he did it. Abby shows no sense of remorse, empathy, or compassion for the things she did and the people she got killed. Instead, she uses manipulation and hypocritical statements to support her own desires. Whether it's telling Owen to stop living in the past when she was clearly trapped in the past as shown in the nightmares, or deciding to save someone else she just met over her lifelong friends, knowing they were in danger. Abby has little to no justification for her actions, with the exception being her father. Even then, her friends and those who were part of the Fireflies have moved on, but it was Abby, the only one who pushed them into this mission that would lead to their eventual deaths. Abby killed Joel not for anyone else. Abby killed Joel because she wanted to. She was a terrible person, and unlike Joel, is a true villain that got away with murder.